I was under the impression that Spider-Girl had the option to choose 2 aspects.
Mm-hmm.
So I played just leadership last week, like a regular deck. I'm not allowed to do that, which I find to be very bad. Like, the idea of playing 2 is very cool.
Right.
But, like, I just wanted to build a deck around Captain Marvel, who I think is so sweet and so good. So I just wanted to play like, all the ally untaps and stuff. So I was just playing leadership, and it was really fun. But apparently you're not allowed to do that.
Right.
Having to, like, I want to put a Triskelion in my deck. I guess that takes 2 card slots.
Right.
Because I have to play Triskelion plus other random cards.
Right.
And for the most part, you know, the first few times you do that, it's easy to find a pair that you want to play. Like, I want to play 1 Triskelion and 1 Hall of Heroes or whatever.
Right.
But you run out real quick. Like, if I want to play the whole package of untaps in leadership, that's like 9 cards.
Right.
Well, so I'm looking at 18 cards I have to put in my pile, plus 15 of hers. Like, we're like almost already done.
Correct.
So you, I find that to be a little too restrictive, but this deck is legal, and it's something that I wanted to do with her anyway. Wanted to explore. So it has the 15 Jessica Drew cards.
Yep. Main ones that you're really most interested in is obviously Captain Marvel. That's what your deck is really hinging off of.
Not so much anymore. Like, okay. I love to draw this card. She's very good. Sure. You should always be happy to draw and play her. Like I say about every deck, she has the set of like attacks and thwarts that every deck has, and it's slightly better than what you could find in the neutrals. So like finesse is really good.
Okay.
2 mana, make a resource. In this deck, I have a ton of cards that it hits because there's not very many basics.
Right.
And then the other cards are fine. Okay. I think Pheromones is a great card, like Confuse and Stun.
Yep. I agree. I think her base 15 hero kit is pretty solid.
It's pretty good. It is. Her 15 cards are pretty good. Her text on her thing is just okay.
Sure.
So what I'm playing is the 3 basic double resources.
Okay. So Genius, Strength, and Energy.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm playing a Nick Fury.
Okay.
I'm playing a Helicarrier and an Avengers Mansion. These are all pretty standard.
Right.
I'm still enamored with this card. I don't know if it's good, and I think I'm going to start cutting them, but I'm playing 3 copies of Espionage.
Okay.
Because it feels so good when you get to crack like 1 or 2 of these before your turn.
Right.
And just start with a double hand.
Card in hand, right, absolutely.
And she's a spy on both sides, so you're like playing Widow, you're not limited to just like not being able to play this card.
Right.
I'm playing a Heimdall.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, these are the 2 basics that I think are a little out there. Avengers Mansion or Avengers Tower less so, because obviously if you're playing a bunch of allies, it's good.
And if you have a bunch of Avenger allies, then
right, which seems backwards with the Heimdall, but
right.
It makes a resource also for a large number of cards in my deck, so I think it's probably worth it.
Sure.
Now, Heimdall is a card that I've been playing a lot in solo play, and I've been really liking in leadership, essentially just because of this card, which I think is absolutely unfair.
Rapid response.
Right. So it takes some doing to get him into play because he costs 5, so you like can't actually do it.
Right.
I mean, if you're in Alter Ego mode, she's a hand side of 6, so you could discard your whole hand and play Heimdall.
Right.
But obviously, we can accelerate resources in multiple ways.
Sure.
But he's big stats, and his come into playability is very good. And if you rapid response it, it's even better.
Right.
So I'm trying him out.
Okay.
Again, an anti-combo with the Avengers Tower, but you don't have to have him in play. So I'm playing 3 rapid response.
Okay.
Because I think this card is just broken.
I think it's interesting you cut Endurance in this build. Didn't play an Endurance.
An Endurance?
Yeah, to heal.
Oh, the hit point thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just another aspect of her being so restrictive and having to have X number of both things. Like, you just have to make cuts. Because like I have some crappy cards in here I don't want to play because I wanted to play the 3rd strengthen numbers, but I can't because I have to have an equal number of red cards. So I have a Triskelion, a Team Training. Triskelion, very good, obviously, for the ally pile.
Right.
Team Training is a new card that gives all your allies +1 hit point. I want to try out. I don't know how good this actually is.
Certainly seems good with Heimdall with double consequential damage. It just It'll all the scale up to a 9-point swing.
It gives all your guys an additional activation, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So if you play it early, I think it's worth it. If you draw it late, I think it's not as good.
Right.
So those are the leadership cards. And then essentially I'm only playing the allies.
Okay.
And it literally was 7 allies. But since you had some of the
other Avenger allies,
I replaced it with this, which is another card I want to try anyway. Because the aggression allies are just so big.
Yeah, so I'm actually, we'll talk about my deck here in a little bit, but I played mine for a kind of a different reason. It'll be curious to see how this plays out. So
the small one is Spider-Girl. I think she's quite good.
Yep, I agree.
She only targets a minion, so it's like a little less good. But this is the kind of card that I would like to play with Jessica because you have to equal up, and this card is good value and cheap, and I can kind of just put it in there, and I don't feel bad about it to match my leadership.
It's at the very least another resource card for you, and at best it does something in game state.
And this card will be, very hit or miss depending on the scenario.
Right.
If there's not many minions, she's not as good. If there's a ton of minions, she's pretty good.
Like playing Wreckers. She's not very good against Wreckers, probably.
Right. And she's probably not very good against Ultron either, because she only hits 1 and he masses the board. What you want to play him against is the the Hydra deck that has a bunch of the bigger minions, or against any of the Nemesis. Obviously, she's good.
She seems that way.
So following up with other ones that I think are on the cutting board, I want to try Brawn.
Okay.
I'm enamored with this dude because of his 5 health for 3. And he kind of he only has 1 stat, but he kind of does both at once because when you attack with him, you can remove a threat.
Right.
So he's probably fine. Again,
I look at him quite a bit. I think he's tanky. He has the ability, if you're getting attacked by a 2-attack minion, to just take 2 or 3 blocks for you. Right. He's just really tanky.
The high health pool is very interesting for cheap.
Yeah.
Leadership recently got a couple 3s that are both also tanky. They have the U.S. Agent.
Yep.
And Black Knight.
Right. Both very similar in terms of design.
Right. And he's just bigger than them because aggression has bigger numbers on him. So I'm playing a She-Hulk, who I think is just a reasonable guy.
I like her ability. I think the fact she scales and damage. She has the potential to be really, really good for you on aggressive level. And she's not unreasonably costed for that.
Right. She ends up attacking for a large number over the course of her life.
Right.
And obviously, with the extra hit point, she can be even bigger. I am playing a Sentry, and this guy is my favorite guy.
He's super cool.
He's just so big.
Yeah.
He's so big.
Yeah. I think
he has the 5 health. He has 3 attack and 2 thwart. His come into play ability is bad, but I'm still going to rapid response him if I can. I don't even care.
Yeah.
I'm playing a Hercules. Again, he's just huge. This one I imagine I'll be pitching for a resource most often.
Sure.
But if you can put him into play, he's another giant man. And then I was going to play a Valkyrie and a Hulk.
But I'm playing both of those.
Hulk from the base set, Valkyrie from the Thor set, and we'll talk about them in your deck, just because I think both those guys are good.
It's interesting we're both going to run aggression today, but we'll see how that works.
It's this is very different aggression than what you're doing, right? Your deck is full of attacks and stuff. I'm just playing this because it has big giant allies.
Right. With powerful come into play effects in most cases.
Right, or they're just very large men, and you can get a lot of extra value out of them with
the rapid response. We're inclusive here, or women.
Sure, there are actually several females in my crew.
That's right.
But
I'm notwithstanding your primary hero either.
Right. So the card that I place them with is Enraged.
Okay.
And this is
I like Enraged in this deck.
Attached to an ally, +1 attack, or +2 attack, +1 consequential damage. This does a couple things, I think it's really good on Brawn because he has 1,000,000 life.
Right.
I also think it's good to always put on as the last attack because you're going to ignore the consequential damage anyway, and it'll do 2 damage.
Right. It gives you it gives you this unique out, right? You also can control your rapid response a little bit better as well. So, rapid response is obviously not a forced response, which is important, but
right. I'm essentially going to activate it every time I can in this deck,
right?
Because all my guys are 4 and 5 cost guys, and as soon as you crack it once for one of those, like you've just made a lot of resources.
Absolutely. Yep. I like Enraged in this deck. I think it's good.
I think it's fine. I would rather have the guys I talked about, but this is close enough, and it will complete the experiment that I wanted to try with her, where I can just like support the Sentry with leadership cards.
So because we're playing the campaign, you also get from our last campaign, you get an emergency teleporter this game.
Right. Do I get to keep it past this game if I don't use it? Or do you?
Well, do I have to use it it's in your deck. You can use it in your deck moving forward. You just can't. Like, we won't be able to replay them if you use the ability.
Right.
And I think it just depends on whether or not you need the ability in a
right. It literally is an emergency because we want to save them for as long as we can.
Ideally, we would try to hold them until a final campaign, but that may not be possible just depending on the scenarios. So, okay. Well, I like this deck. I think this is cool. I think this is the kind of thing Jessica Drew wants to be doing.
Having figured out the rule about her, like, deck building, I am less attracted to her as a character, probably for future games. But like we were talking about, her 15 is pretty good.
Yeah, 15 is really good. I think her starting 15 is really good.